So factoring quadratics when you see a number at the front with the x squared, and that's what I mean by a not equal to 1, is that you're going to have something like a 3x squared or a 5p squared, some number with that squared term at the front. And there's two types. We have easy ones and we have hard ones. So in this video we're going to look at the easy ones, where in this case we'll actually have a common factor we can take out. And the hard ones will be in the next video on hard quadratics, and that's when you cannot factor something out. So the first question I'm going to think to myself every time is, can I factor anything out? So I know I've got a quadratic here because I have an m squared term, and I'm also paying attention to the fact that that's 4m squared, so that 4 makes things tricky for me. So the next question I'll ask myself then is, can I factor anything out? I see 4. Remember, 32 is 8 times 4 and 36 is 9 times 4. So I can actually factor out a 4. So that's going to leave me with an m squared, because 4 times n squared will get me 4m squared, minus 8m. Again, 4 times negative 8 will get me negative 32, and minus 9. And now I'm back to a situation where things are going to be more familiar to me. So ignore that 4 out the front for a minute. And I want you to remember, again, think about things that times to negative 9 and add to negative 8. So that same idea, what factors will times to the outside number and add to the middle number. And when I think about what those are, well, if I do 9 times 1, that'll get me 9. But I need a negative 9 and a negative 8. So if I try negative 9 times 1, that'll get me a negative 8 when I times. And negative 9 plus 1 will get me to the negative 8, so that's the appropriate thing that I need. So I'll leave the 4, and I can now double bracket these as m minus 9 and m plus 1. And that would be your final answer. That 4 just stays out the front as it is. So again, I noticed that there was a common factor before. I factored it out the front in the first case, and then same as before, what times is to the last term and adds to the middle term. If I look at the next example, I see 6p squared plus 36p minus 310. I notice here that I have a number with my p, so I'll then ask myself, can I factor anything out? And it looks like I can. If I take a 6 out of this, I can take a 6 out of that one, and I think I can take a 6 out of that one as well. So if I think about factoring out my 6, put it out the front, it's going to leave me with a p squared, and 6 times 6 will get me 36, so I have plus 6p. And thinking about that, again, you're not allowed a calculator. So try to figure out how you would divide 6 into 330. That's going to be a 5. You guys may do this in a different order than I do, or a different way than I do, but it doesn't matter. You should get minus 55. Alright, so again, I'm going to think about what times is to negative 55 and adds to a positive 6. And that 55 gives me a big hint, just because I know, if you remember, anytime you times by 11, you'll get the same digit twice. So I'm thinking 5 times 11 might be factors for me here. I'm noticing that I have a negative there and a positive in the middle. So I need one of these to be a negative term. If I try the negative on the 11, negative 11 times 5 gets me negative 55. And 5 plus a negative 11 gets me to a positive 6. Well, that's the wrong way around. So think about doing it the other way. Negative 5 times 11 will get me negative 55. And the negative 5 plus 11 will get me to the positive 6. So that's what I need. Leave the 6 out the front. My p's go there, and I know I'm going to have an 11 that's positive, and a 5 that's negative, and then that's my final answer. One more example to look at here. Again, I notice I have a quadratic, so I've got my squared term. I'm noticing I've got a number up the front, which is annoying. So the next question is, can I factor this out? Well, let's take a look. Are there any common factors between 6, 5, and 4? And you should be thinking to yourself, no, there's not. There's no way I can factor this out. I've got things like 2 and 3 and 1 and 6. 5 is a prime, so I just have 1 and 5. Here I've got 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. There's nothing besides 1 that they have in common, and 1's not helpful to factor out. So these are the hard ones. They're not really that hard, they're just harder. A new strategy to look at for them. So check out the next video on those.